Okay. Yay. We're live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome. How has your day been? Let's see how many people are able to join. Let's see if am I able to share? I don't know, but I believe we are. Okay. All right. Can you hear me?
I can hear you perfectly
Okay. All right.
fine.
So, all right. I see people joining. All right. Good evening. Thank you for joining. All right. Hello, Cece. I see you. All right. Thank you for I just want to be sure that we're live. Thank you for joining. Please share if you're able to share. Tonight I have a very important guest. All right. So I will give her the opportunity to introduce herself, but I will say a little bit about this woman of God. Her name is Dr. Genevieve Kumapley, and she's a mentor. She is a pastor. She wears many hats. I'm telling you. So when you hear from her, I think you should hear from her. I think that'll be much better than hearing from me. So I'll give her the opportunity to, introduce herself. Thank you for joining, everyone. Thank you for being here. So I'm gonna start. So tonight we will be talking on building a stronger family support system. And Dr. G is gonna, walk us through a couple of, things that we need to know, either as a parent of a typical child or as a parent of a child living with autism or other developmental disabilities. And I think it's important that you hear from someone who has been in this journey even before I actually started. So she's been in this journey on this journey for a while, and I would like her to to speak a lot about this topic. So my first question to you, Dr. G, I think we should jump right on. Um, can you please introduce yourself? Who is Dr. Genevieve? We want to meet you tonight. I want to assume that I don't know you, so so
That's
if you
fine.
please introduce yourself. Thank you for joining, everyone. If you please introduce yourself and let us know who Dr. Genevieve is. Thank you.
All right, Ronky Moore. I guess that's what I'll call you here. Or some places you go by Ade, and some places Ronke. But I am so incredibly blessed to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity to
Thank
be a
you, ma.
part of your network. I count myself incredibly blessed that I could be among people who are like-minded. So, all right, which hat should I put on first? Okay, so I am blessed. I'm a child of God, that's first. And I am incredibly blessed to be married 26 years. Um, and to my wonderful husband, Mr. Robert Kumapley, who gave me his last name. One fact you don't know about me is that when I got married, I was so bent on trying to keep my maiden name. I had tried it. So I decided to make my maiden name as like my middle name and hyphenate.
Okay.
The problem was that my first name has 9 letters,
Wow.
my maiden name had 6 letters, and my
Okay.
last name had 8 letters. It wouldn't fit
Uh-oh.
on the ID. So God moved the liberal feminism thing right out of the gate, and I was able to embrace the fact that I'm blessed to have that last name. And I share that because sometimes, just to kind of make it fun too. But it's a reality because sometimes people, you work so hard for a particular degree and you feel like, okay, that's what I need to be known by, right? I graduated with my maiden name and I wanted to keep that. But anyway, married to an incredible man. We've been on this journey, the 26 years that I'm telling you about.
Wow.
Married, we have 3 wonderful children. My oldest is 25, my middle is 23, and my youngest is 19. And my entire family, part of half of the family is in Chicago, where I grew up, and the other half is in Ghana. And but then I also have a brother in London, and some family there. So Originally from Ghana, came to the United States when I was 14, and I was blessed to come to high school here. So I think that when I share and talk a little bit about support system, that's going to be part of the journey, right? And looking at the history. So I'm blessed now that I can look back at every segment of my life and where God has brought me through, and that's really what's made me grounded. So you don't appreciate your history until you come to a place where you have to look at yourself in the mirror and realize that God created every experience, or allowed, sometimes allow certain experiences because it prepares you for what's ahead, right? So when I got here at 14, I came to a home where my dad had just, he and his wife had just gotten divorced, and he had just been put out. So I came here to a dad, single father, really, and having to stay with friends. And that journey made me a sad because you're just coming here thinking life is going to be great, right? I don't know why the Holy Spirit's making me share that part of the story, but as I'm reflecting, it's making me realize that some of the experiences that we're going to talk about tonight goes back to when you experience disappointment. So here it is. I was so excited to be coming to America. I get on a plane, and but mind you, when I got on the plane, I was on a standby ticket. The standby ticket put me on first class. I was in
Oh,
first class coming to America. I didn't even
wow.
know what the heck to do with myself. I didn't even know. I don't think I've ever flown first class until recently, when my husband was making fun of me because he travels so much and he got upgraded. And I sat next to him. So go back to that story for a minute. I sat next to him because he got upgraded and I was in economy, and he gets to bring one guest with him. So going, he stayed in economy with me. Coming back, he's like, no, 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 I'm gonna try to get us out. So he got me back on first class, and because it was an upgrade, and I sat next to him. And in first class, let me tell you people something. They treat you very good.
Hmm.
They give you linen, fine linen. They give you uh, utensils that are like knife and forks, real one. They don't give you the plastic ones, right? So, and then they're giving me like an orange juice in a glass cup.
Wow.
I travel all the time and I don't go first class. I travel in economy. But this one time, this is 2 years ago, as part of our anniversary, and he turned and looked at me as I'm holding my china. He said, "It's not your fault." Hopefully, your guests are enjoying that. Um,
That was funny.
that's funny. So, where I would say with that, here it is that I was coming on this journey. I got upgraded first class. I get here only to basically end up in the bottom. He didn't have a place to stay. You're living in a home that belongs to somebody else. But as God will have it, we eventually got us situated. We got an apartment, and those are some of my life experiences that's enabled me to raise my son, which is what's bringing us to this conversation. That you will face some disappointment. I did. I had an image of all these great things that was going to happen when I moved in with my dad, and I was going to have, any kid that or any person that dreams of coming to America, right? The the streets are going to be great. Everything you're going to have is going to be wonderful. That was supposed to be it. And when you get here, and the initial shock of not getting what you need, that was real, right? So that sense of disappointment, that was one of my first disappointment that I had. And I had to process through that. And so there are some people here, I'm sure, who are listening, who have had certain life experiences, and you're disappointed because that's not what you expected. And that's, in a way, what the journey for me in this past 23 years with my son, who actually is more 21 years, with my son has been, is that initial shock of disappointment. So that's the family side of it. I am an associate pastor in my church, and that was not something I chose for myself. It became something that over time happened. I'm a pharmacist by training. My specialty is oncology, cancer patients. That's really what I'm passionate about. I also am blessed to teach pharmacy students with Rutgers University. And then I get to do recently postgraduate pharmacy residency program director. So that's the other hat I wear.
Wow.
And then there's the other hats, which will kind of go in there. But I'll pause here because I've said a lot. And like I said,
Mm.
just to give you something that you didn't even know about myself, right?
Thank you so much. So this, thank you for introducing yourself and thank you for accepting my invitation to be here. Um, I think for those people who don't know, I know you wear many hats. If you will please, maybe in a minute, share your. I know that's not enough, but if you have like a minute or two, if you can share your autism journey before we go right into the questions, because I think people need to learn or
Mm,
also hear from another parent who has been on this journey, right before, especially for those people who are just coming in, and those who are in the middle of it,
mm.
and those who will get to that point, where you at right now. If you will please share, how the journey has been with you.
Sure. So I think the first thing I want to say is that none of us want to wear a disease or disorder as a title. It's not our desire to have that, autism. So it's what society calls it, is what the description of a developmental disability is when the individual is not vocalizing, when they are having repetitive behaviors, where there's a socialization challenges. Those three hallmarks allows them to classify them in that range. Now, that's the how it started, right? Because our son was neurotypical. He was born saying dada, mama, ABCs, the whole 9 yards. And then we saw regression at 18 months and then complete regression, right?
Mhm.
So we lost both receptive language, meaning that ability to hear and understand, and expressive language, which is ability to express yourself. So if you lose receptive language, that's serious. If that means that if you're talking to the child and you're not turning or they're not responding to the name, that's a receptive language delay or issues. That is really important. Most parents are focused on the child is not talking. I'm just trying to use this as an education moment too. Most people are focused on the child not talking, but you need to be careful. You need to ensure that the child can actually understand first. They have to understand in order to speak, because communication is not just verbal. Communication also means that they can use tools, they can use nonverbal signs to communicate. So when most of us are looking at our children and they have speech delays, one has to understand that is he turning or not turning, or is she turning or not turning when you call, when you're communicating? Are they understanding the commands that you're giving? Are they getting a fuller meaning of what you're saying? So we lost receptive language first and then expressive language. And then so when we started to gain skills, it was a receptive language that we have. Our son now
Mm.
is 23, he has complete receptive language.
Wow.
So while people may think, oh, he's not talking, quote unquote, he's autistic, and sometimes may behave as if he can't hear, he's not in the room, he completely understands everything that's happening in that room.
Mm.
He finds means to share what he wants in a way that um, others who come to understand him would know that, right? So I had to come to the place of understanding what was happening with him, and then also understand that there was also something going on physiologically in his body. I know you want me to do this in a minute, but I think that it's very important for your audience who are listening to understand that whatever the labeling may be called, it's more about the labeling. It's also about what supports may be needed, which is what we're going to go into. But before we talk about support, we need to understand why we need the supports, right? And weaving it back into my story. So for us, once I came to the revelation that this label was more than just a psychological issue, but it's a holistic issue. Holistic means that it was a body, mind, which is soul, and spirit issue. Those are the three components that is under distress.
Mm.
People focus on the mind because you're saying he's not talking, he needs to talk, maybe something happened from the behavioral. Some people focus on the spiritual aspect and say disease is caused by Satan, who is the source of it. But there's a piece that people miss, which is the physiological component, the physical, that there's also an issue there,
Mm,
right? It took me about 10 years to get the revelation that all three is at play.
mm,
Because at the initial, we focused on praying, 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 which is absolutely necessary. Pray without season all the time, right? Then I was focused on getting ABA, applied behavior analysis, and all the supports that you talk about. But then I came to understand that something was happening in his body, which is translating and affecting his mind, which is also then manifesting spiritually.
mm,
And the physical component was something I could do something about. And that's where the door opened for me. So when you talk about the journey, it is reading and being at conferences, and there was a book called Children with Starving Brains. Children with Starving Brains. If somebody wants to look it up, that was the beginning of my breakthrough. The beginning of knowing that despite the label, I have an opportunity to do something about it beyond just praying. The book was written by Jacqueline McCandless. She's a physician. And in the book, she describes her granddaughter. And it was almost like the description was matching my son exactly. And the role of toxins, the role of certain foods that triggers the behaviors. That is when I discovered that the behaviors that I was having, or my son was having, which is the tantrums, the screaming, the cringing, was all in part at that time related to pain.
mm,
And the pain was expressed behaviorally because every time after he would eat, he would be feeling uncomfortable, but he didn't know how to express it. He wasn't sleeping, and I wasn't sleeping. When we identified what the source was, we realized it was the food he was eating. We were feeding him. The regular breads and milk and all those things, after he would eat, will cause heartburn. The heartburn was painful, and he didn't know what that was.
mm,
And he would start screaming. And he won't sleep at night. When we took away those foods, when the GI doctor, at the age of 5, I don't know if you know this, Staranke, we had a colonoscopy done. Age of 5, 5 years old. We had an endoscopy done. Camera went through him and saw ulceration all the way through from the esophagus all the way to the gut. It was inflamed.
mm,
We had to put him on massive steroids. That's what brought about the beginning of healing. So then now he can go to school and sit with the ABA therapist and sit at the table and do therapy. You know, they were not saying ignore the tantrums.
mm,
How do you ignore somebody who's in pain?
mm.
If you have a headache, why would you want to sit there with bright lights?
Yep.
You want to pull the blanket over your head. So the long story of it is that once I discovered that a segment, 2/3 of individuals on the spectrum have gastrointestinal issue. That's what Nicholas had. It became my life ambition to get the word out that you need to address the health issues. Don't focus so much on just the speech that you miss the fact that the child is not going to the bathroom for 3 weeks. And when they go to the bathroom, it's foul smelling and that you see food particles in it. Why is that okay? And you call that autism? No,
Mm,
that's a gastrointestinal issue. So that is began to work. Prayer, of course, continues after today.
mm,
Um, the reality of therapies, done them all. The only thing I didn't do is stem cell, hyperbaric chamber, you name it, I've done it. But we kept going and kept trusting that his plan and purpose for Nicholas was good enough for her. So I'm sharing that part of the story because many people think they know me, but they don't. I'm sure most people don't know this part of the story. Yeah, 21 years of the journey, and it's still ongoing.
mm,
When we talk about support, it is will be criminal if I would use those words to dare ignore a tantruming child and call it just autism because there's more to that story.
mm.
I couldn't do that in a minute.
I know there's so much. I know there's so much. And oh, thank you for sharing that. I think I can relate to that part where you said that gastrointestinal issue. Daniel had it too. And after he's done in the bathroom, oh my, the smell, I can't even describe it. So I can relate to that part. And it's real. It's real. There are so many. I think there's one of my videos, shorts that I shared that, children with autism come with different um they show different signs, even apart from the fact that they're not expressive, they're not receptive. They show some may have some gastro issues, some may have some other health concerns, that comes with autism. And that gastro, I think, might be the common one. I mean, because my children had it. And because Daniel is growing now, so he's beginning to grow out of, that gastro issues. But it's still something we're working on. Thank you so much for sharing that. I know you have a lot to say. Look, Dr. G, I am really, see, when it's time to listen, I know you have so much to share, especially on this particular journey. There's so much I know you've done. And, I found most of your sessions, even when we talk too, you share so much that there's no time that we talk either on the phone or we talk in person that I don't take something out. I think that's something that I've learned so much from you. So thank you so much for sharing that. We might do part two, but let's continue on this one first. so, so I'll go to my next question, and please feel free to leave your messages here. We'll address that by towards the end of the session. So, can you please? So, what do you think are the main causes of isolation experienced by families affected by autism? Can you share your own personal experience if you have anything? So why do families who whose child are living with autism, why are they really isolated? Um, you know, and I would really like you to share if you've ever gone through any form of isolation at any point in time while Nick was growing up.
I mean, isolation is a state of mind where you feel you find yourself that people don't understand what you're going through. So you can be in a crowd and feel isolated, and you could be physically also be isolated. So it's both, right?
Yep.
And you feel isolated when your friends don't understand your journey, and you feel isolated. And I think the sense of that comes from the place of shame.
Mm,
The shame that my child is not developing at the rate others children are, especially if your child is your only child. That's one. If that child was your first child, that's also a one. So you're in your case, Daniel, is your first. So by the time it's your first and you're going through that, that's like heavy duty, right? So I've met parents that will refuse to have any more kids, right?
mm,
For those of us who have another kid and then you have this, at least you have a basis of comparison. So it's a little, I think it's a little easier because you, even if it's like one child is now I'm blessed that I have all of them at different stages of development, right? So it allows you to appreciate that each person is different. But when it's your first child or your only child, you feel like the rug has been pulled from underneath you. Even if it's not your only child and it's your second child and they're not at the rate that they should, you still feel that sense that. But what makes it difficult and the feeling is a sense that people don't get it. And what makes it even isolated, even for me, even today, is when people think they understand what you're going through when they have
Mm.
no clue about what you're going through. When, you know, in my role, and you and I talk offline all the time, when people make assumptions, I've had people who get angry at me because they're like, oh, you didn't say hi to me. In the meanwhile, you have no idea that my son was in an ICU.
Mm.
I couldn't even tell you that, but you're judging,
Mm.
right? So, parents who are walking that journey, that child just smacked the heck out of you at home, and you just came out. And it's not violence. They're not trying to be violent. I'm just keeping it real because that fight to get them to take their medicine or even to get them to put your clothes on. How many of us try to go to a party and never make it to the party? Or you put the child in a car and you end up having to drive around, right?
Yes.
That is what causes the sense of isolation. And I'm saying this because parents out there, caregivers out there, you're going to have to create, that's going to lead us in some of the question. You're going to have to create a different set of people you're going to connect to. And then you're also going to need neurotypical people because you can't be with people who all they talk about is disability topics. You
Yep.
just can't do that. So hopefully that goes in there. But I want us to understand, for those who don't have a child with disability, to be sensitive about how you treat somebody who has a child with disability. In other words, be gentler. Give what I call grace. Give that brother or sister grace. They didn't smile at you. Give them grace. Because they're crying in your pillow at night and then
Mm.
they put on the makeup very beautifully the
Mm.
next day. So when they do something, they step on your toe, grace. Because when you are sharp with them, the pain is even worse.
Mm.
So that's how I perceive that sense of isolation is that rejection, sense of shame, sense that people don't understand. And above all, family members sometimes shun you. You don't get invited.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Thank you so much for addressing that. And I know that a lot of people might be going through this and they don't they want to stay isolated because people would judge them about, what they're doing or teach them how to parent their child, which they have no clue about, which they've never even read about it, which they have no info, they don't even know what autism is,
Yeah.
not to talk of how to manage the behavior. And here you
Mhm.
have the mom struggling to see things done. You just see the smile, like you said, you just see them, you put makeup on, you just appear like nothing is happening. I think,
You know, I
I,
tease you all the time. I'm like, oh, I'll see you at that event. I
yes.
mean, I mean, and that's kudos to you. And that's why, no matter how busy I am, you're like, okay, I need you. I'm there because you're always there for everybody else. In the meanwhile, you're walking the journey with two kids. I don't know how you do it. You tell me and you don't know how I do it. I don't know how you do it because the selflessness and serving and being there and being at everybody's event, being there for people. And yet you go home and you have to provide care and you're doing this and people don't realize that it's out of passion and love that you do these things. And in the
Yes.
meanwhile, when is the last time people say, how's Zara?
Yes. Yes. I agree with you. I agree with you because, yeah, people just assume that everything is fine. Sometimes, honestly, Dr. G, sometimes I want to come online and cry. Like, people need to see that this is real. I think also as parents, we bottle a lot up because, we're trying to, like mask, like things are okay. But not every time. There are times I go in the bathroom and cry, like cry.
Mm?
And sometimes I feel like coming online so people, because sometimes when people see it too, it's not like you just want to come up online and cry, but the emotions are there. And you're like, I need to express it one way or the other.
It's a catch 22, right? So I think it's talking about it and sharing the emotional aspect and being real like we're doing now helps, right? But it's like, because people don't know what to say to you, if you cry, they don't know what to say to you and they feel bad, so they'll turn it off. It's like when somebody dies and people go to the funeral, they don't know what to say. So they would just do their, oh, I'm here for you, I'm praying for you, and quickly jet out because
That's it.
they don't know what to say. So you're right. You have to give people a glimpse of what it is, but not to the point where you're just crying out loud the whole time. You need to get help, right?
Yeah.
You need to connect with people. But you're right. Share that these are real, practical moments that you're going through so they don't take it for granted that you are smiling.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. G. So we'll move on to the next question. So the next question is, are there support systems that you know or can share that families can benefit from, either within their families or within the community where they live or within the state, or anyone that you know that you think can be beneficial with, families of children living with autism?
Well, that's a very loaded question. I don't know how you expect me to do this kind of conversation. I mean, like, that's a setup. What? Where do you even begin? Okay. Um, so I think the first thing we all need to know is that you're a resource. I am a resource. I am a resource because I have the wherewithal to even birth the child. I I struggle when I'm around people who see negative, when they just talk negative. I just can't. My skin crawls. That's just me. So if I walk away or it's because I just can't take it. Why? Is because I know that we serve a mighty God.
Mhm.
And the God of this creation of the universe has given us everything we need. Some journeys requires a lot of support, lots of it. I know it because I need lots of support for Nick as up to today, right? So the first thing you need to do is that you're smart enough to do research. Number one, the support is from you, within you. You were expecting me to say it's in the community. No, I need people to talk to self. For the rest of my life, I am going to learn. I'm going to learn everything I need for all my children to grow and thrive. I don't only focus on my child that has special needs or needs extra support. I focus on every one of my children, and you know me, very passionate. It's even if it's not my child, I'm looking for. Did you know this? Can you consider? That's me because I feel like I'm a product, and that's why I shared a little bit about my upbringing. I'm a product of environment. I'm not a product of. I wasn't born into money. I wasn't born into wealth. I was the first in my family to go to college. I am a product of my environment because I landed up in the city of Chicago and it's there. And my dad drives a taxi for a living after today. He's proud to do that. Um, his joy was he was able to come to America and have an opportunity. Okay. I was able to go to a program called Upward Bound. And Upward Bound was a high school program, and they expose you to college. Through that program, I got access to go to University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, one of the top programs in Illinois. Out of that, I was able to go to pharmacy school. Out of that while I was in undergrad, that's where I met my husband. So I didn't have it to say you have it. So my point here is when you now have a special needs child, you have to go back to what you did to get to where you are right now. And that means that you took some steps, you did some research, you looked for resources. Some of us were combing for financial aid. We had 2, 3 jobs while we were in farm when we were in school. You did whatever you had to do to get to where you are. So when you have a child that has special needs, you have to do whatever you can. You don't take no for an answer. I mean, now you are even worse than I am. Look at you over here. You came and drank the Kool-Aid that I gave you, and now like look at you, partners in policy making. You're going part two. Everybody, you all don't understand. This woman is on fire because it was like I had a mission to pass on the baton to her. So she has this baton and she's doing exactly what I'm doing and even more. And what I'm saying there is that I it starts with you and I. Our internal drive to say I'm going to do everything I can to make sure my children succeed.
Mm.
Bottom line, hands down, that's it. That's the number, that's the first support, is the internal drive to say that I am going to look, I am going to ask questions, I'm going to pursue. So that's the first thing. The next layer is depending on the age of the child, with depending on the state that they live in. I know some people are watching from overseas because you have following from overseas. If it's not within your community, then you must create it. That I don't want to hear, oh, it's only in America. No, 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 no. I've been to Ghana. I went back to Ghana. I was moved to go there 13 years ago. And at the time, there was only 1 or 2 programs that I knew about. Now there's so many of them I can't even count. And I wanted to be a part of that resource. So my point there is, if you're watching and you're saying, where I live, they don't have resources, well, you're a change maker. You're a change agent. You put a demand on the system to make sure your child have access. That is the reason why United States have resources right now, right? So make sure that if the child is between the 0 to 3, early intervention. I know you've talked about it here ad nauseum. Yeah. That means that you are getting the behavioral help. For 3 all the way to 18 and 18 to 21. Now, 3 can go from 3 to 21 in the United States. I need to break it down like that for people to hear it and understand it clearly. So, from the age of 3 to 21 in the United States, if your child is formally diagnosed, not delayed, formally diagnosed. The diagnosis is so that you can get all the access to resources that you want. It's like it gives you VIP. Did you know? I don't know if you do this wrong. That you can go to Sesame Street and you can get a pass and you don't have to stand in line. Did you know that? Have you ever done it?
Someone told me. I've not done it, but someone
Do
told
you
me
know
about
that
it.
if you go to Six Flags, you get a VIP pass? Because
Wow.
they know, yeah. So before you make the trip, make a phone call. So the point here is you get access to resources. Now you're going to have to navigate. That's a whole different conversation, right? So the support here is understanding that the school district is designed to ensure not only is the education appropriate, that is catered, individualized, with support in place to ensure that the child gets all that they need. So that's the first level of support. Everybody's entitled to school, right? So that's school, 3 to 18. Now, if the child turns 18 and it's not at the place where they can go to college, you can walk in graduation, but you don't necessarily have to receive the diploma and wait till 21. Then after 21, it's a whole different ball game. You don't want to know about the after 21 part. It's adult. Different ball game. I don't
Wow.
want to scare. I don't want to even want to go there right now. It's not to scare anybody, but what I want to say to parents who are younger parents who are listening to me is this. make sure between 0 to 21, there are certain milestones that you must put in place, certain educational entitlements that you have, use every one of it.
Mm.
Because the earlier you intervene, the earlier you put all your eggs. Don't wait till you're going to go to college. Because, people say, my child is getting ready to go to college. When they go to college, then they can go. Do you know? And I'm not talking neurodivergent for a minute. I'm going to go to neurotypical. Do you know? And I've done talks in this. The best time to prepare your child for adult is starting at the age of 8.
Mm.
8. Because you're going to need to start to put some things in place. The type of friends they have, the type of exposures they have. And so if you're doing that for a neurotypical child, and unfortunately a lot of parents wait till they're 16, 17, that's when you start to ask them, what do you want to do when you grow up? How the heck would they know that? How would they know that? They've never been an adult before. So you're going to need to put some things in place so that by the time they're 21, they can fly.
Mm.
So when I talk about building support, you're thinking of it in a particular way, and I'm going to give some key points generally, and people can write this down. But I'm building foundation so that when they go and walk away, I want people to think about what I'm saying.
Mm.
Okay. What are you doing to ensure that your child has the preferred life that you want them to have?
Mm.
And you've done the Charting Your Life course, so you know what I'm talking about. And Charting Your Life basically says at the age of 2, at the age of 3, at the age of 4, at the age of 5, at the age of 8, what are you exposing them
Mm.
to ensure that they get where you want them to land? And if you're a parent and you spend more time taking care of yourself and only focused on your own education, and you're not putting anything in place for your children, please, please, please rethink what you're doing. You may say, well, if I go to school, I have a degree, I can do more for my child. But your child is losing out on time because of what you're doing. So that's what I would say. And I know it's a long-winded, but where I was going to go with this is that educational system and the resources there is one. After that is the natural environment, your community, your faith community, your neighborhood, your friend groups. That's another level of support. So those are like two broad categories, if I will put it that way. And I'll pause here because I know I've eaten up a bunch of your time. Like I said, I can talk about this topic ad nauseum. You all know me. I know Sister Pat is on there. So for those of you who have walked the journey, yeah. But I really am passionate. I really, 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 really want parents listening that please, please prioritize your children.
Yes.
Give them extra help.
Mm.
Pay for
Thank you, Dr.
tutors.
G.
Pay for
Wow.
tutors. Pay for tutors. Pay for tutors. Doesn't matter whether they're neurotypical or not.
Mm. Wow.
Get them
I, I,
ahead.
I hope some people are taking notes. I tell
Please.
you, there's so much to learn from Dr. G. I'm telling you, I've picked one or two things even within minutes, but I'm still picking some. So thank you for sharing that. So what I want to ask you, I think I think I should ask that follow-up question about maybe you can address that now. Another support system in addition is maybe having like a support group.
Mm.
Do you have anything you want to share on having a support group? Because I'm a product of my goal. That's a support group. So, and I know that, look, what I've learned from my goal, especially when we used to meet in person, is so much, because we have, different families for every phase. So you're never lost. You're never lost. You're either asking someone who is at that stage where your child is moving on to, or you
Mm.
have the ones that are already graduated and they are in the community.
Yeah.
Please, what can you tell us about support group? Like I said, I belong to one, and that is my goal. And she's the convener of my goal, just to let you know. And if you want to, try to touch on that, the importance of having a support group. Because if I don't have a support group, I wouldn't know much of the information that I know, now. And I feel like people need to either find one that they connect to. That way they belong to, they know that, oh, I belong to this family who gets it. I know that, because it's not only having, it's meeting together, having meetings, having, what do we ask the expert? We have different things going on in my goal. So, Dr. G, please give it away if you'd like to share.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I didn't. The mandate to start a support group came from the sense of what you talked about earlier, the isolation that parents feel. And personally, because I've been in the faith community, I've had support, right? So our church, Agape House of Worship, family of churches, we have a special needs ministry. Our pastors are incredibly supportive. Our leaders are incredibly supportive. Members are incredibly supportive. Um, but I also realized that when we, like you just described, when we connect with other people who are walking the exact same journey and they're ahead of you, and I'll share an example. And I know Pat is on here now, and she heard me when I was talking about guardianship, and so some people supported decision making. At the age of, prior to the child individual getting to 18, you have to think about the fact that once they turn 18, you as a parent no longer have rights. They have a law, whether they can do it on their own or not. You now have to figure out how to support them, right? So it was out of the support group that I knew what to do
Mm,
and what it is. And it really came about to say, okay, so if I'm walking this journey, what are the things that I want to have? And so these are the key things, and this is some of the notes that I was going to write, I was going to talk about, which is what my goal does, right? So if a support group or a group of people that come together who share a common interest or common issue, in that environment, you should have access to information and education. So one is, they should be informational. It cannot be, let's come together and cry. Access to information and education. They need to get accurate, up to date information about the autism, about therapies, about educational options. And that's why you said it best. We have asked the expert. I themed that after COVID, right? So before COVID, second Sunday of the month, it was 2 hours. The first hour was spent, let's really fellowship, getting connected. And then the second hour, I will have an expert come in and they will talk. And so the first hour was like, hey, what are you doing? Um, she's actually misses the meeting. Yeah, I know. Um, what are you doing? What are you up to? What's going on? And then, I'll have somebody's like, I was crying, putting the child on the bus. Trey used to talk about that, you know, um, and it was, so we did that until COVID, right? Um, and what we will also do is then we'll have volunteers that will come watch the kids while we had that time. And the number of speakers, amazing, really great. And they still are there resource wise, who would teach us what to know and what not to know, right? So a good support group should have information and education. I think that it's important that you're continually educated, right? A good support system should tell you or give you information about access to therapies. Where is speech therapy, occupational therapy, physical therapy, ABA? So within the support group, you should know what people are doing and the impact that is making in their lives.
mm,
So that you can say, oh, maybe I can try that. Oh, maybe not, right? So it's the same where it's almost like in a church family where people join clubs, it's the same concept. People join clubs because of particular interest, and within the club, in a community, you find what people are doing and you learn from them, right?
That's true.
A good support group should be emotionally connectional.
Yeah.
You should be able to cry. When you're at the end of your rope, you pick up the phone and call me. I have other people that I also call. I mean, we have warrior moms. Nadine is one of them for me with Nissan's place. She, you know what, it's, and I met this woman when her son, Nissan's place is about 12 years old now, and they're doing phenomenal,
Mm,
phenomenal work, right? And she didn't have resources in Newark area, and that's
mm,
what she's doing right now. So it should provide emotional support and counseling. Family
mm,
members need emotional support to say, sis, I got you. And that's how I ended up starting to do the empowerment moment. Because I was like, okay, people need to hear you're not crazy because you're like, I'm overwhelmed. And you can articulate that I'm overwhelmed. And that emotional support and counseling is necessary. So that's the other thing. Respite. A good support system should be within that, where you have people that will come by and take the kids off of your hands for 5 minutes. I loved it when you said, your Daniela, your, neurotypical child was able to go spend time Vanessa's place, right? And and she was willing to take them off your hands. And hey, so for the therapist out there listening to me, you're an OT, you're a speech therapist, please, please, please reach out to some families that you know and offer your services, even as a respite time, because that time can go a long way, right?
yeah, yeah,
A good support system should push you to advocate. You get the information, go out there and do something about it. Tell other people, be a blessing to other people, go to trainings, right? And then I think a good support system should tell you how you can find community resources. Really, really, really important. So these are the elements in which I think is necessary to find a good support group. And I can honestly say that my goal has provided that. And we've done that for the most part for free, because there were other groups that were starting when I was starting mine, and they charge membership
wow,
fees. I personally felt like people are going through enough already. I don't need them to feel like they need to belong and come to the group. If you want to come, fine. You don't want to come, that's okay too. I will share the topic. Is there? Come to it. I have people that drop in and out. There's some people that only come to specific event. They only come
mm,
for swimming. There's some families that come for the holiday party. They only come for that one.
mm,
And then there's some families that call me when their things are falling apart.
mm,
Period. And that's okay too.
mm,
Why is equipping me every day with the giftings that I have to be able to be the support to that. So that's kind of like what I would say, that a good support system is that. Now, what I will encourage parents listening to me is this, and I don't know if you've done this topic before. Prepare for emergency.
mm,
If you were to get sick right now, God forbid, and you needed to go for surgery, do you have information prepared so some loved ones will be able to take care of your child while you get the care that you need?
mm.
As Christians, we don't do a good job of preparing. We don't. We want to pretend that that is not going to happen.
That's true.
I want you to create an emergency preparedness kit. Have the name of the doctors.
Mm,
This is part of the support now. The name of the doctors, the name of the
mm,
therapist, all of that in a document, in a place.
yep. One second.
So
Yep.
this way, if something is to happen, you have asked, people know what to do with your loved one.
Yep.
Maybe because you needed to go for surgery, anything can happen. So
Yep.
emergency preparedness. That's one thing that most people don't talk about, and that's important part of it. Also, talk to people that you love and value, and create um, a board. I call them a board. If you did advocacy PIP, Partners in Policy, they talked about that. Create a board. I have a board of directors for Nicholas,
Mm,
and these are people of different backgrounds who, if something is to happen, I know that my family can reach out to them and it'll be a resource. So that's what I will say. So that's a good support system, is to create a network or a team of people that will support your loved one. So, they taught us the person-centered planning tool. You know what that is. So all that it is created a document that ensures people to know that. So I know it's a lot that I'm ramming down people's throat, but hopefully they will watch it again and get some other nuggets from it.
Yes. Wow. Thank you so much, Dr. G. I I caught that. I caught a lot in that. So thank you for sharing that. That's a lot of information right there. And I hope our families are taking notes, because I'm telling you, you're getting this for free. You heard what she said. Some people are paying to become part of a support system. And I think that's one thing I also appreciate about my goal. Aside the fact that, my goal provide educative information, they also give grants to families. I think you do that. Yeah. So do you mind sharing, even if we have anyone who wants to
Yeah,
apply?
no. So we exist our mission is simple. We exist to support families facing autism and other intellectual disabilities throughout their lifespan. And we create connections and provide resources. That is our tagline. Provision of resources means that if we're doing fundraisers, it's not for me to put it in my pocket. It is really, I mean, I'm burdened by the fact that you have this child and you're trying to take care of them, and you need basic necessities and you struggle. It's I struggle with that, because I've been blessed to have an amazing job. My work people have been so amazing. And so, to whom much is given, much is expected, right?
True.
So I'm embarrassed to say that we've given over $150,000.
Wow.
Yeah, because this year alone we've given out 25,000.
Mm,
Last year we did 25,000.
wow.
The year before we did 20.
Wow.
Then we
Wow.
did 10.
Mm,
So yeah, and it's across the country.
mm,
25 families got selected, and is we have a committee that reviews the application, and they made out of a variety of people. Some with have professionals, some are just volunteers, and people apply. We usually open up the application in February, so February
mm.
2025. People can check it out. So we do fundraisers so that we can raise the money to do that. So if you see us saying support us, we're legit.
Yes.
We're a real deal.
Yes.
It
Wow.
doesn't feel it doesn't feel fun to be asking people, give me money, give me money, give me money. I just don't like that feeling. But if I know that that money is going to help somebody, I will say
Mm,
give me money, because I
yeah.
know it's not for me. It's free.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Sissy, for
Wow.
yeah.
Thank you
So
so much.
are there
Thank
any
you.
questions? I know I've said a lot.
Oh my gosh. But I think I would say thank you so much for sharing that, because a couple of families I know, they don't have the opportunity to even access, especially those that are not approved um for maybe SSI or Medicaid or something
Mhm.
like that. That grant will come a long way if they're able to apply. So if you're watching or you'll watch in the future, please feel free to apply. And if you need that information, you can chat
My
me, leave a
yeah,
message, leave a comment.
mygoalinc.org.
Yes.
So
So,
just look for that. Thank you for saying that. And if people are watching and you're like, you know what we're saying means something to you, and Ranka is saying it here, she's part of that network, and she's doing exactly what our team wants people to do: be out there advocating, sharing information, promoting it, letting people know that you are a warrior. You are somebody who to be reckoned with. I know I'm blunt to the point, but if you're within the circle, and the folks who are within the circle knows, I'll do whatever I can to make sure your child gets to where it is. I know Pat knows what I'm talking about. I'm like, I'm like, she can get mad at me all she wants. I'm like, I love you to pieces because Michael is mine. Um, they're amazing children of God. So if you're listening out there and you just say, I just need help, I need to find a way to connect, we're here for you. If we're not it, we'll point you to someone else. I don't It's not mandatory to be part of my network. You may not like my style, I'm too blunt. You like to go the long, you want to take 40 years to be in a 40-day journey. That's your business.
Okay.
I'm not mad at you. But when you get to 40 years, you'll come back. I'll be here watching you. I'll wait for you. I'll wait. I promise. I think I have more patience now than I used to. Because now you're the one dealing with it. You're like, I love talking to this woman. She's like, Dr. G, I'm not going after anybody else anymore. I'm like, now you know how I feel.
Oh my gosh. Yes, Dr. G. I'm telling you, a wealth of information. All right, please share. Feel free to share. If you have anyone that can benefit from this, you can hear her. There's a lot of information. Like I said before, I'm a product of my goal, and I can't even tell you how much this support group has been a blessing to me. And I know that I think I invited one of my family friends too, who has been part of the group, and she was like, "Oh my God, there's a lot of information." Every time when we come up for ask the expert of any event, she'll be like, "Wait, where where have I been?" I'm like, "Yeah, you're in this state, but but I'm glad that she's part of us." And I think one thing I would like is for us to come back in person. We're doing too much online. If we can come
Well,
back
the
in person.
problem with in person, sis, is this. When you put in work and people don't show up, it's a
Mm,
lot. It's a lot. So I think if there are people out there that want to host it, I'm happy for us to do it. Because even we were trying to do the in-person social hour, right? We go through the whole trouble. We found a restaurant. Let's come together. Let's do that. People come after a while and then they drop off. So it makes the whole journey of that. So we may get creative and think about a different way of doing it, right? And then some people are also looking for activities for their kids. So they're not necessarily wanting to just come and sit, right? So I'm open to ideas, suggestions, what we can do for that purpose. But it was a lot. I didn't even realize how much work that was until I was in, because like literally every second Sunday of the month, I go to church, I'll pack up all these items in my car, drive to church, go to the service. After that, drive to the hospital where we were doing the event, helps create a setup for it, create a room where the kids will be in, get the volunteers, get them all of that. I'm not saying that to complain, but I was just like, when COVID happened, I was like, what was I doing? That was a long time. It was 12 years we're doing that.
wow.
12 years. We did that
Wow.
for 12 years, every second Sunday of the month.
Wow.
We will get there like 2 o'clock, no, 1:30. From 1:30
Mm,
to 6. That's
mm,
what we'll do. And whether it's for 2 people or 20, we will do it, right? So that's when we started to get creative, because we're like, well, if we're gonna push for it, then I need to make sure people will show up and people will
mm,
attend. So I've tried a couple of in-persons ones since COVID. People don't always show up. We did
mm.
just plays. Trying to find a couple of places to do it. And so if we get the following, then I'll say, yeah, we will do it. And that's why we tried the social hour live event as a means to do that, so we can come in person. But you just need, and maybe a little bit more centrally located may be helpful. So it may be worth exploring, at least if on a quarterly basis something is done. But the problem is you do it and people don't show up. That can be very discouraging. No matter how strong a person you are, you just you plan a party and then people
Yes, yeah.
cancel on you last minute. How does that feel, right?
I, I
So,
agree.
and then now that we're able to do it live, online, people can go back and watch it also. So yeah, Pat, I owe you the last talk, the last one that Scott did. And we're it's on Facebook still, but we will make it live because that was very important.
Yes.
I have upcoming, I know that people are going to be starting to ask some questions. I have upcoming, our next one is going to be Hillary Freeman again.
Oh,
Yeah, and she's going to be talking about how, what did I call it? Let me look up. I know they just did the flyer. So it's
yeah.
called, let me see. It's called Educational Rights and Advocacy,
Mm.
Understanding IEPs and 504 Plans.
Wow. Okay. All
So
right.
this is going to be on Sunday, November 10th at 3 o'clock. It's
Okay.
on Zoom. And I love, 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 love this woman. She was my attorney who helped me advocate for Nicholas during the school year during COVID, when the school wanted to just, it don't matter how long you've been in the system.
Mm.
They're always up to something. So she's going to be talking about that. I mean, she's done a lot of stuff. She's done stuff on guardianship. We have other people that will present, but that's going to be the last as the expert. And then in January and February, I already have a couple of people lined up for topics that will be really good. So to share that. And then the other plug for people watching, we have our upcoming gala. Hey, Saturday, November 16th is my Sweet 16. If you're a family watching,
Yes.
please, you can email me at info@mygoalinc.org. We try to get tickets for families to attend so that it would be at no cost to them. You know how I feel about these things. So I'd like to give them the VIP access. Now, if you're watching me and you said, I want to support this organization, what you're doing is you can purchase a ticket, and that ticket will then be given to a family if you cannot attend. We will love it if you can, because this year we're going to have the MJ Expression team is coming back again. These are young
Yes.
people who with special needs who dance to Michael Jackson's song, and it's just so incredibly warming to watch. Great food, great music, great time. That this gala was started. This will be the 16th one, because I wanted families who normally don't get to go out, get dressed up, and be a
Yeah.
part of it. So that's part of the supports. So it's a
Yes.
Sweet 16. Yeah, so Pat, Sweet 16, and the theme color is blue and silver. So
Oh,
put your
oh.
blue and silver and come out for your Sweet 16 party. So if you were out there and you never had a party for yourself, this is going to be your party.
Yes.
This is going to be your
Yes.
party. Come out and join us.
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you, Dr. G. Yes. So, if you have nowhere to go, no event for you to attend, please join us on November 16th in Edison, right? If you're
Yeah,
in
in
Jersey.
Edison, at Pies Mariners in Edison. Yes.
Okay. Yes. And if you're even out of state, if you are in the DMV area, I mean, you can stop by and
You can
just,
stop
you
by.
know, check
If
us
not,
out.
yeah, and check us out. And then for the
Yeah.
families that um, need to know, our holiday party is going to be Sunday, December 8th. It's going to be in Cataract, and it's also free. So
Yes.
that's also another uh,
Yes.
event that is coming up. So just want to just make sure you guys know about those things.
Yeah, that's another fun time. Look, I'm telling you, look, I don't need to say it much, maybe because I'm part of the support group, but you need to come.
And it's free support group with
Yep.
no restriction, no judgment. The only thing I would say is that no complaining.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Wow, wow. Thank you so much. Wow, that tonight, I honestly, you saw when I was writing, so I was trying to get a pen so that I can write some stuff down. And I will say thank you so much, for being here. But before we go, do you have any last words, any advice, anything you want to say to parents, who has a child living with autism, or even parents with neurotypical? Any advice, anything you want to share?
Yeah, so I think it's important that they know that your faith journey is very important. We talked about a lot of things, but I don't want to miss the fact that your life your life lived in Christ You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. So if you don't know Jesus, I'm asking you to consider asking him to be a part of your life. Dedicate your life to him and he will help you.
Yeah.
There is a popular Bible psalm or chapter, and it's called Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd. I have everything I need. He will lead you beside the still waters. He will restore your soul. He will lead you in a path of righteousness because of his name sake. Even though you walk through the journey called autism,
Mm.
you will not be afraid because the Lord is with you. He's your rock and he's your
Yeah.
shield. And guess what? He'll prepare a table before you at the IEP meeting
Yes.
in the presence of the naysayers. He will prepare a table for you. Your cup will run over, your cup of
Mm.
joy. It will
Mm.
run. Though the weeping is enduring in this season, joy will come when the child gets out of the diapers, even
Yes.
if it's at the age of 8.
Mm.
Joy will come when he says mama and dada for the first time. Joy will come when all of a sudden they're playing with your neural other kids. And his goodness and his mercy will go before you,
Mm.
go beside you,
Mm.
go behind you,
Mm.
everywhere around you.
Mm.
That is a journey to know that even if you're going it through right now, please know there's a God who created that child and he knows everything about that child. And all you got to do is ask for wisdom.
Yes.
And the wisdom comes from being connected, being in a faith community, a wholesome faith community, because you cannot not worship God. When you do that, everything else will come together for you.
Mm.
So I had to put on my pastor hat there for a minute
Yes.
and remind us that we can do all things indeed through Christ who will give you and I strength.
Mm.
So that's my last words of encouragement. So when you start reading Psalm 23, put your child in that story, and I promise you, you will be so thankful
Mm.
that you have the Lord as your shepherd.
Ah, amen. Wow. Dr. G, thank you so much. You dropped a lot tonight. And I want to really, really appreciate you for honoring my invitation. I know you're very busy. I know we were supposed to come up last week. Now everyone was supposed to come up last week, but for some reason YouTube did not work. And she told me, okay, next week is fine. I'm like, wow.
Well,
Honestly, I
because
was so
I
happy.
believe in what you're doing.
Thank
I
you.
support what you're doing. I
Thank
am
you.
glad you changed the platform
Thank you.
because what God wants to do is take you to the next level.
Man. Thank
And
you.
you're going to have to take steps. And you've already started doing that. I chase after you about things. Pat, you're saying deep. I need you to do PIP, partners in policy making. Pat, your time is expired. I need you to do that. I know I'm calling on I'm calling on her because she and Ronke are my people. So I can say that to her. And she's also doing such phenomenal. You're also doing phenomenal work in your environment. And Ronke, I'm very proud of what you're doing. Keep
Thank
up the
you.
good work. There's more. She has a number of things that she does, and so if you're 21 and over, she has her company. I'll let her tell you more about that. I think you should do a podcast on that because you should let people know that's a resource. That's why you have your program, right? Uh,
Yes.
so she's a wealth of resource. I refer people to you now when I get new families. I'm like, I need you to go talk to this person because you have this education, you have the personal experience, you're on here, you're talking to people, and you're keeping it real.
Yeah.
And so of course, I have to make time when it comes to you guys. No matter how busy, I need to make time. And I always tell people that we're like all the pastors are in the same boat. We know that when people call us and it's important, God will remind us that some things need to shift and we'll be there. So
Mm.
that's just what we do. So if I'm not responding or I don't, it's not because I'm ignoring you. Maybe it's in the middle of work. I just share with you that I work with cancer patients. So in the middle of the day, that might be a little hectic, but grace is there. Grace is there. Grace is there. So
Yes. Oh, once again, I want to thank you so much and thank you everyone for being here. I hope you enjoyed this session. Look, I'll bring Dr. If you have many topics, if it's 3 to 21, Dr. G can address that. Now she's at that phase 21 and up. I know she has a whole lot of experience. She has both. She has a lot of experience, wealth of experience. And I'm not there yet because my son is still 11, but she is more than happy to share a lot of information, which is where I'm learning so much. And I want to say that thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Now I am fully part of our CPAG, which I love, and I'm an active participant.
oh, awesome.
Yes.
Wow.
So
Look at
yes, to
that.
support.
So why don't you tell people what CPAC is? No, you assumed everybody knows.
Oh yeah, so CPAG is special
Parent.
education parents advocacy group or advisory group,
Yeah.
whichever one. They use both, and it's a parent support group in which is created in the school system,
Mhm.
where
It's a legal
we have
requirement
yes by law.
by law. Yeah.
Uh, so, these people provide, these families also, of course, have children with disabilities, and we come together to share concerns, address whatever issue is going on, within the school district. So if you want to become part of your own school district, please go ahead and do that. But I am part of it, and I'm proud to say I actually went for the vice president position. So
Woo! I was waiting for that. I was like, okay, you in a leadership role because you know me. That is awesome. That is
thank you.
amazing. Look at you. This is so
Thank you,
good.
Dr. G. Thank you,
This
Sister
is
Pat.
so
Um,
good. Wow. Wow.
yes,
Wow. Wow.
so
Wow. That's
I'm ready to support our families. And I was telling them the other
wow.
day that they need our partners in policy. They're ready. They're ready to learn. So next year, I believe policy and making will be bombarded with applications. I'm positive because they're ready to learn. They're open to learn new stuff. And I want to say thank you to you because if honestly, I don't know how I would have learned about, because when I had to, would have been like, what is that? What is that? And I'm like, wait, and you're in Jersey, you don't know what that is. But
Well, I
I'm
think
really
you're explaining
thankful,
it. Where
you
you
know.
explain it here, I don't think people know what we're talking about either. So let's clarify that. So,
Okay.
what is partners in policy making? You're in it now. You're in advanced level. So I'm
Yes,
listening.
yes, yes. So, Partners in Policy Making is a program actually done by the Rutgers University Buck Center in affiliation with Rutgers University. They provide you with some educational information and policies that needs to change, or policies that needs to be addressed for most people with, mm, with disabilities. So varieties of disabilities, and you have parents or families of people living with, disabilities, and also people who are also living with the disabilities. So there are so many things that needs to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done, when it comes to what's it called? Oh my God. When it comes to our community, when it comes to services, when it comes to advocating, either for Medicaid, either for services, for whatever thing. So that is what Partners in Policy is. And I think that it's also great for families to also connect. It's a way to connect to and also learn about advocacy. I'm telling you, even before the program, I know I do advocate for my child, but with this program, I'm telling you, it's a step ahead. You're able to see things on a different level. Some information you hear, you'll be like, what? So I would really encourage, anyone watching or you will watch in the future to
How much does
consider
it
that.
cost? How much does it cost?
Oh, it's free, 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 free of charge. And I know it. They have that in every state too. Every state in the United States, they do have the program. And now it's actually hybrid. So 1 month in person, the other month online. So they are completely open to. They provide, a childcare. And I think hotel reservations for those who live far. And
Listen, I
what
didn't live
else?
far. I didn't live far, and I took advantage of the hotel reservation. I was
Really?
going there.
I
Just
thought
for
about
hotel
that. I
respite.
thought I
What,
thought about that too, but I'm like, I'm 20 minutes away. Why?
girl? You're crazy. I was 15 minutes away, and I was sleeping in that hotel. What are you talking about? Shoo, it's free.
That's it, Gio. Like, I
Why?
love that.
They
Yeah,
f- they fed you. You get
yeah.
a respite.
Oh
You
my
get
gosh.
time by yourself. Why wouldn't you take advantage? They're begging you. They have the room.
Yeah. It's really good. And that hotel is, oh
Yeah, well, it's there. It's free. If you don't want to use it, somebody else is. No, what they did is that they encouraged that because sometimes what people do is they stay later and then the groups can kind of gel a little bit more. So to your point, the importance of advocacy is really, really necessary and important. Um, and so that's part of what you need to think about. And when we say advocacy, is the skill set that you're gaining and learning how people do it enables you to do that everywhere. So whether
mm,
it's you're going to that's those are the skills I'm doing in adult world right now, where you have to be able to navigate the services and supports that you need. And I do that everywhere. Even my kid going to neurotypical child going to college and knowing what resources there is. So for those who are watching, I really highly encourage it. It's not just about the advocacy, but they teach you that what the governmental laws are,
mm.
what the rules are, what are that. So all part of it.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Thank you, Dr. G. I am really grateful for being here. Thank you for sharing with us. Maybe I'll bring you some other time very soon. I don't know how soon, but let's see by
Yeah.
God's grace next year. I mean, I know if I keep bringing topics, I know how you will address those topics. So I want
You're
to
like,
see
oh
you.
yeah, I won't go tangential. Um, no, it's all good. It's all good. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Yes.
Sister Pat, my sister is here. She joined from Canada. Cece, thank you so much. Adiza, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. I really appreciate that. Please, if you have any question, either for me or for Dr. G, please, Dr. G.
Yes.
Um, I know she also she provided the information for my goal in case you need to attend the gala or you want to come see, but you're going to pay. So come
Well,
see.
the people have to be fed, right?
Yes, yes,
And it's
yes.
also what I tell people is to remember it's part of the fundraiser. So proceeds of that event will go towards the grant. So
Mm,
even though you're paying a ticket, know that you're actually sowing a seed in a person's life somewhere.
yes,
So
yes,
that's the difference, right?
yes.
So I want people to be encouraged. And if you have a business out there, we are looking for sponsors too. So that's a way to promote your business that way too.
Yes, yes. Come see how much information you will also learn. And also connect, with other families. If
Mhm.
you have questions or you need any kind of support, you're more than welcome to join us. So thank you, Dr. G, for being here once again. I'm really grateful. Um, so on this note, I will see you next month on another episode. We appreciate you. Yeah, thank you, Sister Pat. Thank
We
you
love you,
so
Sister Pat. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Have a great night.
Thank you. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Bye.